Okay, so let's do a quick review of this week. We saw how to graph quadratics. I know they look like a U shape. We call those parabolas. We learned how to graph quadratics 3 different ways. On Monday, I'm going to review questions 13 and 14. For Monday, we saw what we call vertex form. Okay, so Monday, we saw vertex form. Okay, so take a look. The vertex, I'm going to say my vertex is going to be -6, -6. Okay, the x value, as a reminder, the x value comes from inside of the parentheses. I'm just going to change the sign. Inside the parentheses, I see +6, so my value is -6, the x value. Don't forget to change the sign. All right. My y value is going to come up here at the very end with the sign included. I don't change the sign on that one. I only change the sign from the parentheses. So my vertex is going to be -6, -6. My aperture, I'm going to use the sign of this number at the very, very front. Just the sign, right? Positive or negative. Because it is positive, I know this thing opens up. So I have a vertex. Because this thing opens up, that means my vertex is the lowest point on the graph. Let me graph my vertex. -6, -6 is right here. And this thing is going to be opening up. So let me just go on the left side, something like this. And on the right side, let's see. Something like this. Okay, it looks like a U shape opening up. For vertex form, what I really want you guys to focus on, what's the vertex and the aperture. When it is open up, the vertex is the lowest point. When the thing is open down, the vertex is the highest point. I mentioned that business management, those that look for maximizing profit, they look at this type of graphs. All right, let's take a look at question number 14. My vertex in this case is going to be 6, 2. It's a reminder. My x value comes from the parentheses. Don't forget to switch the sign. And then the y value is there. 6, 2 is there. Let me do a better job. Six, 2 is right there. Now my aperture, I look at the number at the very front. Again, I'm looking at the sign. It's a negative. So this thing is going to open down. The negative, so it's going to open down. I'm going to say it opens about right there. And about there. So Monday was easy. Vertex form. Just want you to focus on the vertex and the aperture. But then on Tuesday, let me flip the page. Let's take a look at 15 and 16. I gave you the intercept form. Okay, so the intercept form, I look at my parentheses. So there's 2 parentheses here. And I'm going to think of the values of x that make each parenthesis 0. So when I look at the first parentheses, I'm more like, x plus 6. What value of x makes this 0? And then we're going to say, well, x equals -6. Right? -6 plus 6 is 0. Good. The other intercept, again, let's take a look at the parentheses. I'm going to say x equals -3. -3 plus 3 is 0. Yeah. Now, most people will say it is, isn't it the opposite sign? Yeah, isn't that what makes 0? Two numbers that are just opposite signs. Okay, so now this information gives me 2 points on the graph. We're going to call those the x-intercepts, right? They're going to be on the x-axis. One of them is going to be a -6. It's right here. And then the other one is going to be a -3, which is right here. Okay, I have them in different colors so we can see where they at. Now, roughly, I know that because of the sign at the very front, I know this thing is up and down. However, I want to find the vertex, okay? Because this thing is up and down, I do expect the vertex to be above the x-axis, okay? So now how am I gonna find the vertex? Now let me find the x value. The way I'm gonna find the x value, the two x's that I have, let me add these things up, -6 plus a -3. I'm gonna add them up. So that's -9, and the result divided by 2. Always divided by 2. -9 divided by 2 is -4.5. Okay, we can deal with negatives. So -4.5, that's the x value of the vertex. Now to find the y value, I'm going to use the -4.5 in each parentheses. Okay, so let me use the whole equation. I'm going to use this whole equation. So I have that y equals, there's a negative sign. My first parentheses, I'm going to use -4.5 for x. -4.5 plus 6. I'm just looking at the first parentheses. -4.5 plus 6 is 1.5. Now let me take a look at the second parentheses, x plus 3. -4.5 plus 3 is a -1.5. When I type this over, I go -1, because of the negative at the very beginning, -1 times 1.5 times a -1.5, it gives me 2.25. So my vertex, my coordinates of my vertex are -4.5 and 2.25. Whoa, not too nice to graph, but doable. -4.5, that's going to be right in between -4 and -5. My y value, 2.25, is going to be slightly higher than 2. So I'm going to say it's about here. Notice how x value I went between -4 and -5. For the y value, I went slightly higher than 2. So it's doable. Now, we're graphing here. If you're doing it on paper, I'm not gonna grab my ruler and be like, it's supposed to be 225 and you did 2.3. Well, not exactly, right? I just want you to have a rough idea. So I have the vertex and I have 2 points. I'm gonna connect them. So this opens about here. And there. So you need the vertex and the intercepts. All right, that's good. Let's take a look at number 16. My first parentheses, I'm going to say my x value is -6. The second parentheses, I'm going to say my x value is -3. So that is, let's see, -3 -6. Now I need to find my vertex. Looks very, very similar to some numbers I just used, but I'm still going to do it again. I add the 2x values divided by 2. That gives me my x value is -4.5. Okay, now I do expect this to be open up, right? Because my first number is a positive. So I do expect this to open up. Now let me find my y value. Y equals 0.5. I'm going to deal with decimals, right? 1/2, isn't that 0.5? So 0.5 times 1.5, right? X plus 6. If x equals -4.5, it's in -4.5 plus 6. I'm using -4.5 for each x. The last parentheses, -4.5 plus 3 is a -1.5. I multiply this out, 0.5 times 1.5 times a -1.5, and it gives me -1.125. Ooh, okay. So my vertex is -4.5 and a -1.125. I know how to do the -4.5, right? It's in between -4 and -5. -1.125, it's a little lower, just a tad lower than -1. So that's going to be, let's see, about there. About a little closer, but that's what I got. So I'm going to put it right there. And then I'm going to say, all right, let me connect these. To the left, that's where it goes. And then, all right, so vertex form was not that bad. Then on Wednesday, we learned standard form. My A is going to be 1. My B is going to be 12. And my C is going to be 32. So far, we haven't used the C value, but we're going to use it coming up, pretty soon. So make sure you understand A, B, C. Now, I need to find my vertex. For my x value of the vertex, I'm going to use the formula -b over 2a. -12 over 2, which is -6. Okay, I know my x value. For my y value, I'm going to use this whole thing. For space purpose, let me just write what comes after the equal sign. So I'm going to write -6 inside parentheses square, because x is -6, plus 12 times a -6 plus 32. So let's see, that gives me 36 minus 72 plus 32, which is equal to -4. Cool. I already know my vertex. My vertex is the point -6, -4. There's my x value. There's my y value. -6, -4. Easy to plot in. Because A is positive, I expect this to be going up. All right, but I need a few more points. Okay, let me create a chart. I'm going to put my vertex in the center, -6, -4. Let me choose two numbers less than -6. So -7, -8. Two numbers bigger than -6. -5, -4. Let me zoom out. So we see on the top, in the highlight, we see the equation. Okay, the two numbers that are right next to -6 are either -7 or -5. Use whichever one you want. I'm going to choose the -5, but if you want to try at home with the -7, try it. I'm just going to go -5 squared plus 12 times a -5 plus 32. See, I'm using the equation, but instead of x, I'm using -5. So 25 minus 60 plus 32, I happen to get -3. Okay, so my y value here is -3, and then here it is also -3. Let me get 2 more points. I'm going to use the equation. For x, I could either use -8 or -4. I'm going to use -4. So -4 squared plus 12 times a -4 plus 32. 16 minus 48 plus 32 is 0. Okay, so the y value here is 0 and the y value here is 0. Cool, I have 5 points. Should be able to graph this now. Let me zoom in here. Have the point -8, 0, -7, -3. The vertex, -5, -3, and the point -4, 0. All right, from the vertex to the left, well, I ran out of space, so I stopped there. From the vertex to the right, I'm gonna say keeps on going about here. And there. Because my A value was +1, I expected this to be open up, and look, it is. All right, let's take a look. Here for number 18, my A value is 1. So from the get-go, I already know this thing is open up. My B value is -6, and my C value is 3. My x coordinate on the vertex, x equals -b over 2a. So I have 6 over 2. Right? The negative of a -6 is +6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now for my y value, I'm going to use the equation. For space purpose, let me just use the information after the equal sign. So I have 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 3. So I have 9 minus 18 plus 3. That is -6. So I have my vertex. My vertex is the point 3, -6. There's my vertex. It is open up, so good, it's there. Now I need a few more points. I'm going to create a chart of x and y values, and I'm going to put my vertex in the center, 3, -6. For smaller numbers than 3, right, looking at the x value, 2 smaller numbers than 3, I'm going to choose 2 and 1. 2 bigger numbers than 3, I'm going to choose 4 and 5. All right, so I could either use x equals 2 or x equals 4. Whichever one I use, I get the same y value. Since I can choose, I'm going to choose 2, right? It's easier to work with the 2 than the 4. So let's see. 2 squared minus 6 times 2 plus 3. So 4 minus 12 plus 3 is -5. All right, so my y value here is -5, and here my y value is -5. For my other points, I can use x equals 1 or x equals 5. I'm going to choose the 1 because it's easier to work than the 5. So I'm going to do 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 3. So I have 1 minus 6 plus 3. That's a -2. All right, so my y value here and here at the bottom is -2. Okay, now I'm ready to plot this point. Let me zoom in a little. Okay, so I have the point 1, -2. I have the point 2, -5. Have the vertex which I already plot in. Then I have 4, -5, and the point 5, -2. Can kind of see where this thing goes to. I expected this to go up because A was positive, so okay. So on the left side, it's gonna go about there. On the right side, it's gonna go about there. Okay, let me zoom out